Good morning everybody, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're back with another market analysis for the month of April. And today I'm going to be talking about a few different things, including how the self-imposed hopping limit has actually affected items prices. We're going to have a look at how Pole 70 has affected the prices of a few different items, mainly the crystal items. The nightmare items have now started to plummet really quickly, so we're going to be looking at some of those items, as well as anything else interesting in the RuneScape economy this month. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and let's get started. Now first up here, let's have a look at how the world hopping limit, or the removal of it, has affected a few different items. Now if you're not aware, about 9 months ago they finally removed the world hopping limit, so you could hop between worlds an unlimited amount of times, or essentially an unlimited amount of times. However, they recently put it back in with some very heavy restrictions, so not only can you not hop very much, if you do it more than like 10 or 15 times, you'll actually get IP booted for like 2 to 4 hours and you won't be able to play at all. So that has heavily disincentivized people from world hop, which means items that were obtained primarily through that method have increased in price pretty dramatically. One of the very obvious offenders here is the pineapple. We can see it pretty much immediately on March 27th when they put back the world hopping limit. The item's price went from about 340 each all the way up to 700, so doubled in price pretty much overnight because it has a pretty significant demand, and that was really the main way that pineapples came into the game, kind of similar to the red spider eggs. Not exactly, but once they removed the main source, the item shot up in price, however normally very cheap. Another couple of items here that are really obtained only via a shop, and that is the gold leaf, which we can see pretty much immediately went from around its average of 133 all the way up to 140, which is a pretty significant increase because in a shop it is tied to a 130k price tag, which means people were willing to pay a 10,000 GP premium per item just because you couldn't actually go and world hop yourself. From the exact same shop, we have the marble block. These are all construction items if you're just wondering, but they're only obtainable from this one shop. And if you can't world hop around, stuff like the marble block, which sells for 325k in the shop, is going to be worth nearly 340k just a couple of days later. Okay, another item here that is often bought from a shop, but probably affected less directly, is the battle staff. Now the battle staff has been going up all month, however that is kind of just a general trend of a few different items. The two big factors at play here are the increase in players due to the quarantine and the world hopping limit. Another really good example of an item that is primarily obtained through a world hopping method is the plain pizza. Now this item is obtained elsewhere, but mainly through world hopping in the Warriors Guild. And this, along with the potato and cheese, is a very useful food item for mid-level Ironmen. I mean, pretty much anyone really. Now we can see here that this item has shot up pretty dramatically. Now when the world hopping limit was put back on March 27th, they're worth around 670 each. And even just a few days later, they peaked at 990, so like a 50% increase almost. Now another item that Ironmen buy a lot is the potato with cheese. This item actually peaked at 639 just a couple of days ago. So it's pretty clear to see actually how much the world hopping limit impacts the economy. Now on top of the world hopping limit, the other big factor this month is the amount of players that we are seeing. Now I did mention that back in March, but we can really see how much things have gone up even since then. In the last month, nature runes have gone from 250 each all the way up to 300, which is a significant increase for them. Now this could be a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. A very popular way to obtain runes is also through buying them from shops, which require you to world hop a lot. But that is not by any means the only factor. I would say the increase in player counts, the demand for those items is just a lot higher. Another really good example is law runes. Look at that, going from 160 back in March all the way up to 220 right now. A massive increase. And in my opinion, I think this has to do with one or two major factors. When we have a lot of new returning players, they are usually mid or low level accounts, which means they don't have access to law rune crafting or blood rune crafting, which means the demand for those items is going to be a lot higher, but the supply coming from high level accounts has not increased that much, which then bumps up the price, and in this case bumping it up nearly double. Same thing for death runes, that has increased quite a bit, going from 200 to 250. We have even U logs going up from 160 to 186. There is another factor that I think could be affecting things, and that is the ratio between real players and bots. It is possible that when a lot of players come back to play the game, the ratio between bots and real players becomes more skewed towards real players. So maybe normally there's a 10% bot ratio to real players, and right now there is a 7% bot ratio to real players, which means the supply of these items is less and the demand is higher. And another item here is rock karambwans. Most resource and high demand items are just going up right now, which I think is pretty interesting. Okay, so yesterday we had a pretty major quality of life change, and that was to the Blade of Saeldor and the crystal shards. So now with 1,000 crystal shards, you can charge the Blade of Saeldor to make it non-degradable. And another part of the update is you can now exchange crystal tool seeds, armor seeds, enhanced teleport crystals, and I think weapon seeds, and you can exchange those for crystal shards, which means all of the item prices here have been kind of tied together. Even this morning, something crazy is going on, and I'm not quite sure what the reason is. So let's first up have a look at the Blade of Saeldor here. Currently worth 177 mil, which is pretty much tied for the price of the rapier right now. This month it is pretty much doubled in price from 90 mil all the way up to 180. So now let's have a look at some of the crystal items, and you can see what I'm talking about here. The crystal tool seed this morning went from about 2 mil up to 5 mil, and I went ahead and tried to buy one of these for 4 mil. I couldn't do it. We can see down here a massive amount of trades coming through. I went ahead and checked these updates too. I don't think there's anything related to this. So I'm very interested here. I'm not sure if this is a prediction. If I were to make a guess, I would say the quantity of crystal armor, weapon, and tool seeds got burnt through really quickly through people trying to get their Blade of Saeldor charged. And maybe there's just such a low supply of these items that now that when people want to charge their blade, the easiest way to do that is to buy these items and dismantle them. Now that there's an item sink, essentially, they're just going to shoot up in price. I don't know. Very impressive how quickly this happened, because a month ago the crystal tool seed was only worth 500k, and now today it's worth 10 times that amount. Okay, moving on to some of the other items here, we have the crystal armor seed going from 7 mil even this morning, doubling in price up to 18 mil. Assuming it's accurate, that is crazy. A month ago the crystal armor seed was only worth 3 mil, which means it's gone up about 5 times in value already. We have the enhanced teleport crystal. My god, 10 mil for that one. I know it can be hard to predict these things, but it still kind of hurts just knowing how many of these items I had even a couple of months ago. I know Guides for Us All went ahead and invested a lot of money in here, but he was planning on exchanging them for crystal keys, and I wonder if he's still going to do that, even though his investment is probably worth 10 times the amount now. Okay, and finally here we have the crystal weapon seeds going a little less crazy here. Now I'm interested to see if this has affected the price of the divine potions, and currently it doesn't really look like it. They're actually going down impressively. So now with this update, crystal shards are kind of indirectly tradable in both directions. Previously they were only tradable in one direction. You could kind of sell your crystal shards via creating divine potions, but now you can do the reverse of it, which means you can go ahead and buy crystal tool seeds and you can degrade them into crystal shards. Okay, and finally here, let's have a quick look at the nightmare items, and they have continued to crash very, very quickly. The nightmare staff going from 220 mil a month ago, currently worth 47 mil, and continuing to crash pretty quickly. I predict the nightmare staff is maybe going to crash to 30 mil and slowly decrease in price from there, maybe to 15. But that's definitely not the only item crashing this month. The orbs are crashing very quickly. A month ago worth about 700 mil, currently worth 280. And a pretty big factor here, as we can see, look at this increase in volume. While GE Tracker doesn't track all of the transactions, the ratio would still be the same. It really just goes to show how rare the harmonized orb is right now. Even after a couple of months since the release, the price has decreased a bit, but the volume, man, the volume is very, very low on this item. Okay, and finally here, I wanted to have a quick look at the old school RuneScape bond. I like to do that at least once every month or two, and we can see that the price is actually decreasing. Bonds are actually the cheapest they've been in quite some time, currently worth about 4 mil each, and this year specifically, the price of the bond has not followed its normal trajectory. A year ago, they were worth 4 mil, peaking at 6.5 mil sometime in November. Right after December, they crashed a bit, but not much. They immediately went back up. And I think that again could really have to do with the increased player counts, and I guess a lot more people are using their mom's credit card to buy more bonds. Anyway guys, that is going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, I would appreciate it. If you left the video a like, I would appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.